In the spotlight tonight, it was an early June afternoon in Cleveland that would soon be a turning point in the civil rights movement and the protest against the Vietnam War.
And so the 1967 Cleveland Summit brought politics, race, and religion to the forefront. Boy, did it ever. The main topic: would a group of some of the best black athletes in the country join Muhammad Ali and his refusal to be drafted in the Vietnam War? And as we look back on that meeting 55 years ago, Leon Bibb steps in to tell us why it was so significant.
The 1960s was a time of significant change. The civil rights movement, the press for equality, also racial turmoil in cities, Cleveland among them, and a widening, highly controversial war in Vietnam. The decade was a turning point in the United States. The years also saw Cleveland Browns running back Jim Brown set National Football League records. In 1964, Jim Brown led the Clevelanders to an NFL championship, retiring a year later to make Hollywood movies. But in 1967, Brown returned to Cleveland's changing black political landscape to convene a meeting of prominent black sports figures. In this atmosphere, the athletes meeting in Cleveland were in the city to question Ali, who cited his conscientious objector stance on the draft based on his religion. A month before, Ali had become a member of the Nation of Islam. The athletes at the summit wanted only answers from Ali. Several there had military backgrounds themselves, including then state representative and soon-to-be mayor Carl Stokes. Ali spoke on his religion and black pride, never wavering from his conscientious objector stance. It was the Ali Summit, eventually called the Cleveland Summit. The office where they met was at East 105th Street and Euclid Avenue in Cleveland's University Circle. The building is gone now, but the meeting was historic in every sense of the word. Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and the others marked a turning point in the civil rights movement. The issues all converged right here in Cleveland: race, politics, sports, religion, and the war in Vietnam. 1967 marked a turning point for the nation, Cleveland, and for black political and social power. 5 months later, Carl Stokes was elected first black person to lead a major American city. Ali was convicted of draft evasion, but he stayed out of prison during his appeal. Years later, the Supreme Court overturned the conviction. Muhammad Ali returned to the boxing ring. In 21st century sports, athletes are using their power and their platforms for social and political statements, following footsteps of other black sports stars decades before. That was when a group of athletes took a political stance in the Cleveland summer of 1967. For 3 News, I'm Leon Bibb.
Leon Bibb, the remarkable storyteller to mark 55 years since that historic summit took place. The city of Cleveland, the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, as part of the NBA, will recognize the anniversary Friday with a monument at the original spot where it all took place. And with that, I'm joined by Kevin Clayton, the Senior Vice President, Head of Social Impact and Equity for our Cavaliers. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Jim.
When I look at those pictures, those still pictures of that summit, the power of those personalities at that table just jumps through the screen.
Yeah, and Jim, if you think about in 1967, the fact that they recognized they had a platform where they could leverage sports for good, and now you come back some 55 years later, that's really what we're trying to replicate, and that is to have an opportunity for our athletes to leverage their power and their platform for social justice.
It was such a turbulent time in a lot of cities, but certainly at the time of that summit, it was a turbulent time here in Cleveland.
Yeah, absolutely was. You know, then we had the riots that were going on, and there was just social unrest everywhere.
All right, let's talk about this replica right here.
Yes.
This is beautiful. This is the bank of microphones that all of those powerful public figures and great athletes sat behind, which was very courageous for them.
Absolutely. They had everything to risk.
They did.
And they were willing to risk that. So what you see in front of you is a partnership that we have with a group of black designers called the Marcus Graham Project and the NBA Social Justice Coalition. And we are actually going to have this monument at the site on 105th and Euclid, where the actual summit happened, and it represents having a seat at the table, and all athletes, all people having a voice.
That's really well put. A seat at the table. Why is it so important to the Cavaliers?
Well, as you know, Jim, we stand for justice, we stand for humanity, and we really have a mantra for the love for the land.
Yeah.
And we were going to have this rollout at the NBA All-Star Game, and what we decided to do was, look, let's actually commemorate June 6th as the 55th anniversary, because this is who we are from a character standpoint, from a value standpoint. So knowing that we also had two amazing NBA athletes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Russell, we wanted to make sure that we recognize that historic event right here in Cleveland.
I got to tell you, okay, a little bit about me.
Yes.
Grew up in Boston, huge Celtic fan, but very saddened through the years of the great dynasty, Red Auerbach, certainly led by Bill Russell, that he had so many troubles living in Boston, something that I really wasn't proud of myself.
So, Jim, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Sam Jones is my uncle.
And he just passed.
He just passed, and I would hear him and Bill Russell talk about what they went through from not being able to stay with the rest of the team in a hotel because it was no blacks allowed.
Russell had a tough time finding and buying a home in Boston because neighborhoods would turn against him. All right, the Cavaliers are going to you're going to recognize the summit annually, right?
Yeah, so what we want to do is to commemorate the 55th this Friday, and then on an annual basis, we want to pull together all the sports teams and the city to actually host summits on an ongoing basis. So we want the work of these amazing heroes and pioneers to live on, and what better place than Cleveland, Ohio, where the summit started.
Where it took place.
Absolutely.
55 years ago, Friday we kick it off. Hey, thanks so much for coming on.
Jim, thanks for having us.
Good work, Cavaliers.
I appreciate
on
that.
the court and off the court.
Thanks, Jim.
Absolutely.